A year ago, Phibz was virtually unknown online, just another teenager posting what many would have dismissed as cringe. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. They blew up. 1 million followers later, they disappeared just as quickly as they had arrived. No warning, no explanation. One moment they were everywhere, building a near cult-like audience with people obsessively recreating their content, and the next, Phibz was gone. So, what happened? It turns out Phibz wasn't just going viral. They were surrounded by controversy. Allegations began piling up, promoting self-harm content to minors.
In the server, you mentioned about, putting your initials into people's skin.
Making sexualized remarks involving underage teens.
Basically saying, making a suggestive joke and aiming it towards someone who was supposedly a minor. So, to explain that, at the time, I didn't know Francie was a minor.
Defending individuals accused of consuming child abuse material.
That, everyone in that chat was talking about that sort of thing. But also doesn't excuse any action.
And even admitting to harming themselves and abusing drugs.
I wasn't healing 6 months ago. I was doing a lot of bad actions. I was killing myself. I was doing...
The new cringiest TikToker is facing serious allegations. I'm sure you've all seen this individual before who goes by Phibz. They're an up-and-coming cringe talker with over 45,000 followers. Her whole content style, or whatever you want to call it, is literally just her.
But over time, the pressure mounted. The scrutiny intensified. They even had the cops called at them at school. Slowly, the persona that they built online began to crack, until eventually it collapsed completely, pushing them off the internet. Now, if you've spent any time on TikTok's For You page over the past few weeks, there's a very strong chance you've already come across Phibz. And at the time that this story started gaining traction, they were an up-and-coming TikTok creator sitting at around 1.1 million followers. What's crazy is that Phibz' account grew from 10,000 to 1 million followers in a month.
I started blowing up, I want to say, about a month ago now.
So, how many followers did you have a month ago?
10K.
You had 10K followers a month ago.
Yes.
And now you're at 1 million.
Yes.
So you're really like an overnight sensation.
Yeah, sort of.
That's more than enough to have reach, more than enough to build an audience, and more than enough to attract the kind of attention that can either make or destroy you.
Being on TikTok helped expand my circle and helped me get so many friends and helped me learn how to be confident in myself. And I'm so grateful to all of you people that support me.
So what exactly was Phibz posting? What kind of content gets someone from relative obscurity onto everyone's feed almost overnight? Well, Phibz built their entire presence around a very specific and honestly difficult to explain style of content.
When I started on TikTok, I started very basic TikToker. I upload videos, I did my own thing. I think that's the thing that got me mainstream, is that I don't really care about people's opinions too much. So I started doing these things called in real life animation memes. I'm not sure if you heard of that.
Yeah, so it's where you're doing it so that way it's easier for them to do the edit?
Yeah.
Okay.
They essentially acted like they were inside an animation meme. If unfamiliar, think of those hyper-stylized clips where animated characters bounce to music with exaggerated, almost cartoonishly expressive movements. Now, take that exact energy and translate it into a real person, performing it on camera with full commitment. That's their content. But the content itself wasn't the only thing that glued people to their page. It's their age. You see, Phibz is not a kid or some random teenager. They're 19 years old, almost 20, a grown adult. They've defended the way that they present themselves, framing it as harmless, fun, and attributing the more childlike aspects of their behavior to being autistic, claiming that it naturally comes out in that way.
So an adult can't have fun now? 18, by the way. Oh, an adult, by the way. You guys keep forgetting that I'm autistic. And when you're autistic, you tend to have childish behaviors because your brain is not fully developed as those your age. But at least I'm enjoying and living my life. Unlike you who has to spread negativity on the internet.
Now, on its own, that wouldn't mean much. TikTok is flooded with strange, awkward, and outright cringe content. People go viral for much less, and most of the time, nothing comes from it. If Phibz was just another slightly odd creator carving out a niche with a quirky style, this wouldn't be a story. They would have faded into the background like thousands of others before them. But that contrast, the gap between how they present themselves and how odd they actually are, is exactly what pushed them into virality. People started stitching their videos, reposting clips, turning them into reaction memes. Views started climbing fast, hundreds of thousands pouring in almost overnight. For a brief moment, it looked like they had become the internet's latest fixation, until people decided to take a closer look and uncovered something that flipped the script and changed everything. Practically overnight, Phibz went from just another viral TikToker personality to one of the most talked about and most hated creators on the platform, and it has everything to do with the Discord server. On its own, running a Discord server is not a problem. Millions of people run completely normal, uneventful Discord servers every day. But there's a very specific type of creator, usually sitting in that strange, cringe corner of TikTok, that seems completely incapable of running one without it spiraling into something far messier. It happens over and over again. Take Nova Online, for example, one of TikTok's most famous lolcows, and who may have inspired Phibz. His Discord server, called Novine Universe, was open to mostly young audiences and was meant to be a fan community. Instead, it repeatedly collapsed into chaotic spaces filled with NSFW content and underage users. Although Nova claimed most of the servers were for adults only, enforcement was non-existent. Age verification relied entirely on what he called the honor system. Users simply typed in their age. Nova's young audience was exposed to the ABDL community, Adult Baby Diaper Lover, where he openly discussed his fetishes. Phibz would follow this exact pattern, opened a public Discord server, and that server is where a huge portion of the allegations against them begin. You see, anyone could join, meaning people as young as 13 were in the same space as adult, interacting freely with no verification and no oversight that actually mattered. And if there was any doubt about that, Phibz removed it completely. At one point, they openly admitted on video that their server was filled with both underaged and adult people.
First thing, you're one to really fucking talk. My server is filled with both underage and adult people, right? Why are you sending where my server has underage people in it?
This wasn't an accident, nor was it happening behind their back. This was a server they created and ran, a space they actively moderated where children and adults were mixed together with zero meaningful boundaries. But this wasn't the worst thing, because once people started paying attention, the backlash began to build. The server's age requirement was quietly updated, but not to 18. Not to the clear, responsible cutoff that would separate minors from adults. It was changed to 17 plus, and that raises the very obvious question. Why 17? Why stop just short of adulthood instead of actually enforcing it? Because that kind of half measure doesn't solve the problem, it just makes it look like you're trying to address it without really changing anything at all. And by this point, the situation was already starting to unravel. People were starting to see Phibz for what they really were, and more damning incidents would soon follow suit. A few weeks before this story completely took over TikTok, multiple accounts started surfacing with damning allegations. The allegations involved a screenshot and a conversation between Phibz and a user named Sonia. It starts off normal enough, light conversations, compliments, nothing out of the ordinary. Then it pivots. Phibz asks, "This might sound weird, but are you single?" Sonia replies very directly, "Phibz, I'm 14. And instead of the conversation stopping there, instead of any immediate acknowledgement that this is inappropriate, the reply shifts tone completely. "Yeah, but never mind, forget it. You don't want me anyway." And that response is what people latched onto, because it's not just inappropriate, it's emotionally loaded. When a 14-year-old states their age, the expected response is an immediate disengagement. Instead, what people saw here was something that read as guilt-tripping, almost reframing the situation so the minor feels that they are the one rejecting them. To be fair, the timestamps on this screenshot suggest that Phibz would have been around 16 or 17 when that conversation allegedly happened. From a legal perspective, Phibz is in the clear. A 17-year-old and a 14-year-old is not viewed the same way as an adult interacting with a minor. Some commenters even question the authenticity of the screenshot altogether, suggesting it could have been edited or taken out of context. Phibz also cleared the air regarding the screenshot, calling it fake and threatening to block anyone who brought it up again.
Hey, so there's this screenshot going around, right? And it looks hella realistic. But I'm here to tell you that it's photoshopped. And for the people saying, oh, Photoshop can't look that clean. Yes, it can. So many popular people and so many people in general can go through this just from some really, really good editing. There's also a possibility that accounts can be faked, because my personal Discord account has a Pinterest banner and a Pinterest profile picture. So my account can easily be faked with that and, fonts and stuff like that. And people who know me will know that I've never done anything like that. And never will. Because that is disgusting. And now that's all I'm gonna talk about for now. But just know, if you bring up the topic again, I am blocking you, because it makes me very uncomfortable for people to be taking my name and dragging it through the dirt.
And those are valid points. You don't build an entire case off a single image floating around the internet.
I'm still here, and I'm, getting allegations and getting a lot of hate, but I'm still here, and I'm still gonna be myself, and I'm gonna still make videos regardless.
However, this didn't just fade away. It turns out Phibz had more skeletons in their closet. And what people started pulling out from inside that Discord server wasn't just questionable, it was deeply disturbing. Screenshots began circulating showing Phibz making a series of statements that, even at their most charitable interpretation, were wildly inappropriate for the kind of audience they had. The first one people pointed to was relatively mild compared to what followed, but still concerning. In one message, they say they want to harm themselves. On its own, you could argue it's just edgy language, but this wasn't an isolated case, because the next set of messages shifted from concerning to outright alarming. In another screenshot, Phibz makes a sexually suggestive comment directed at a specific individual, someone who, according to the internet detectives, was a minor. At that point, the framing changes completely. This is no longer just awkward or edgy humor, it's an adult, in a position of influence, making inappropriate remarks in a space filled with underage users. And then came the messages that they would later acknowledge were real. These are the ones that pushed everything over the edge. Statements about carving people's initials on their body, followed by comments that romanticized scars and intimacy in a way that directly linked them back to self. "Who wants their initials on my body?" read one text. "I want to carve into someone and kiss the scars," read the other. These weren't vague texts that could be easily misinterpreted, and the context here is what makes it so serious. This wasn't a private conversation between Phibz and other adults. This was on a Discord server that included minors as young as 13, and that matters. The demographic most vulnerable to self-harm was on the receiving end of these harmful messages. Younger users, many of them female, many of them already navigating the kind of emotional instability that makes them more susceptible to influence. When someone they follow and look up to starts framing self-harm as something intimate, the consequences are real. What's crazy is that Phibz has revealed that they once suffered severe mental illness and used to harm themselves.
Last year or the year before that, I forgot when I made my older TikTok account, but I had longer hair and I was very mentally ill, and now I don't even give in to my tendencies that I used to anymore, and I like and stuff like that, and it just shows so much growth. I have autism. I also have ADHD, and a lot of like learning disabilities. I can't do math above a 4th grade level, and for reading I can't read more than shit, I don't even know at this point.
But to sympathize with Phibz, they grew up under very tough conditions that no child should ever have to live through. According to them, they were brought up in a lesbian household, and their biological mom was an abusive alcoholic. Her parents were worse and even physically abused Phibz, even making them sleep on the living room floor. Although sad and traumatizing, it's not an excuse for their behavior online, because if you build an audience, especially a young one, and then create a private environment where you romanticize self-harm, you don't get to separate yourself from the real-world impact it has. Phibz would respond to these allegations in a video where they owned up to the texts and apologized, and even revealed that they were attending therapy to address their mental health.
So I want to remind everyone that I'm going to therapy and I talk about these things in therapy. Okay, now on to the allegations. So I can't show the actual photo directly because I don't know why the green screen won't let me. But basically it's a screenshot saying that of me saying that so two things first. That I want to carve into someone and kiss the scars, and I want to carve someone's initials onto my body. I'm very ashamed I ever said that, because first of all, people are very sensitive to stuff like SH and all that, and I was not in the right headspace at the time. And it doesn't excuse my behavior, but I do also want to bring up that in that chat that they were like talking about, everyone in that chat was talking about that sort of thing, but also it doesn't excuse any action of it. And I want to say that I have also now been 6 months, no scars, no nothing. Like, I've not relapsed in a while.
Phibz also addressed the sexual comment they made towards a minor, Fancy, saying that they did not know that Fancy was underage at the time.
So the third part of that screenshot said that, I'm going to, do something. I can't say it directly because it does make me semi-uncomfortable to say that in front of millions of people, but, because it's different when it's, like, jokingly with your friends or whatnot, saying that sort of thing, but for people you don't know, it's just strange. But basically saying, like, making a suggestive joke and aiming it towards someone who was supposedly a minor. So, to explain that, at the time, I didn't know Francie was a minor, either because A, I didn't look at their roles, which was pretty ignorant of me, or B, I just didn't know, or they didn't have the proper age roles. Again, I'm not that kind of person at all. If I knew that person's age at the time, I wouldn't have said it. But also with that, I also do admit that that sort of thing should be, like, kept with DMs and kept in, like, people you actually know are, like, 18 and up. And I do better at that nowadays, but also to some degree I make mistakes, as you know, with my server. I had underage people in there, and that was not right of me.
Despite their apology, their past statements kept coming up, and one of the most disturbing ones changed everything. Because up to this point, as serious as everything has been, you could still frame it as just reckless behavior, or judgment, a pattern of inappropriate conduct that raises a lot of red flags. But this next situation goes beyond that. At some point during all of this, a guy known as Zane became part of the conversation surrounding Phibz and their community. And Zane wasn't just another random name floating around their Discord. He was someone they were, at the very least, familiar with, someone present in the same online spaces. Zane was a notorious online figure. One time, he was accused of leaking and doxing another Discord member's face without their consent or valid reason, and even threatened to dox more members. And then the allegations surfaced that Zane had been involved with CSAM, child material. That is not something open to interpretation or nuance. It's one of the most serious and universally condemned crimes. So naturally, the expectation is simple. If someone in your circle is tied to something like that, you distance yourself immediately. However, that's not what happened here. Instead, a screenshot began circulating where Phibz addressed the situation directly and said something that stopped a lot of people in their tracks. Phibz was actively trying to protect Zane from people who were confronting him. In this screenshot, they confronted one of their moderators for harassing Zane, even after he was kicked out of the server. The moderator correctly points out that he deserved everything that was coming his way for his crimes. That's when Phibz dropped this bombshell. They said that those things were in the past, that people shouldn't be judged for what they did before, that people can change and grow. This was shocking, that some people in the server couldn't believe that Phibz was defending the indefensible. And it's not just the defense itself that was problematic, it's the context around it. A 19-year-old running a Discord server with minors, acknowledging that someone tied to something this serious was in that space, and choosing not to distance themselves, but defend them. Phibz got on video and somehow made an already bad situation.
Hi, so I hope this will be the last time I address allegation drama. The only reason why I'm addressing it is because it's kind of very serious. So the allegation that's going around right now is that I love. I'm not explaining what that is. If you want to know what that is, go look it up. Or don't, because I don't want you to see something you might regret seeing. So, newsflash, I don't support that. I was defending the person that got allegations towards liking. So, I'm about to provide screenshots of Zane's situation. And here we go. So, here's the Naruto was also enjoyer. I was also not enjoying in a harmful or bad way. Also, I didn't know their age at the time. I didn't watch the anime in years, and I didn't know their age, and nor do I remember their ages while even ever being mentioned. Why are you acting as if I'm made to look like as if it was the art? I don't believe you can get blamed for something you didn't know, like legitimately. So yeah, I was defending Zane because they didn't know at the time, and they don't support that kind of thing now. Okay? So, no, I don't support. I, however, do support people that get, like, blamed for stuff they didn't know, though. Sorry if I didn't explain this well, I'm limited on time. Goodbye.
Far worse. After a lot of backlash, Phibz was forced to apologize and finally distance themselves from Zane.
I'm no longer friends with Zane. That whole situation was a mess, and I wasn't correct at the time, and I'm sorry for that, and I humbly do apologize, and I don't support any of their other actions or any of the actions they did do. And I'm sorry that I supported that ever. I had no, my head doesn't know the full context of certain things sometimes, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm truly sorry for that, and I'm trying to work on it. Again, I am still learning some things, especially when it comes down to being famous, and especially when there's a lot going on. It's hard for me to explain sometimes, especially because, like, with the new haters and new fans and all that, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of pressure, and I really don't do well under said pressure.
Zane pushed back after Phibz tried to throw him under the bus, saying he was never involved in CSAM. He explained that at 13, he had liked porn involving two 17 and 18-year-old characters, and didn't know their age at the time. He then turned the criticism back to Phibz, arguing their actions were worse, especially after they asked minors if they wanted to put their initials into their body. And then came the interview, which, if anything, made the situation worse, because up until this point, everything we've covered was based on screenshots, allegations, patterns, and responses scattered across different platforms. The interview was supposed to be the moment where Phibz sat down, addressed everything directly, and clarified their position. Instead, it ended up raising even more questions about how seriously they actually understood the position they were in. Early into the conversation, they confirmed something that a lot of people were already debating. They admitted on the record that they participated in and encouraged the self-related discussions inside their Discord server. Not misinterpreted or taken out of context. They acknowledged it, and when asked why, their reasoning was that people in the server were doing the same thing, so they joined in.
Server, you mentioned about like putting your initials into people's skin.
To further talk on that, I do admit I did say that. But there were also other people saying that kind of thing in that server.
Then the conversation shifted to accountability, and this is where things really started to unravel. When asked whether they planned to take a break from TikTok, to step back and reflect given the seriousness of everything surrounding them, their response was not what most people expected. They explained that they keep posting because they don't like being bored, that TikTok had essentially become a hobby, and that stepping away for an extended period wasn't just something they were willing to do.
Need to take a break from TikTok? Because I've been trying to take multiple breaks from TikTok. If you haven't noticed, I have only been posting about 5 times a day. I would have posted more if I knew this situation wasn't serious. The only reason why I keep posting on TikTok is because I need something to do with my life, or else I will go ballistic because I do not like being bored.
And that answer, more than anything else, is what a lot of viewers latched onto, because it reframes the entire situation. You have allegations involving minors, disturbing behavior in a private server, and the defense of someone tied to extremely serious accusations. And the takeaway is that posting content needs to continue because otherwise, there's just nothing to do. They doubled down on that as well, taking a long break, quitting, even temporarily stepping away. These options were described as off the table, not under consideration, not something they were open to, regardless of the circumstances.
Let me explain to you, because I don't have better things to do. I can't just, oh, I'm gonna ignore this and delete TikTok or whatever and whatnot. I can't just do that because there is a fan base that requires me to post daily. B, my whole boredom thing, where if I get too bored, I will not be okay with that because I don't like being bored. Posting on TikTok is basically a hobby for me at this point.
Despite their firm stance on not leaving social media, Phibz made the decision to disappear. They set their TikTok and Instagram accounts to private. There is a high likelihood that their mom, who may have traumatized them as a child, is now trying to correct her mistakes by guiding Phibz. One piece of advice for this was when they advised Phibz to delete an apology video and even threatened to take their phone away.
No, I mean you deleted your apology video.
But where? When?
The slave apology video. You deleted it, didn't you?
Oh, I understand why. Because my mom told me to. There's nothing I can do about that. My mom told me to delete that video because the more people look on that, the more they're gonna take that in and take. Because, mind you, because a lot more people see my content than what the haters' content is. Or whoever is addressing these allegations. My mom told me and literally told me to delete that or else my phone was getting taken away because that doesn't define who I am. My past actions do not define who I am.
My mom is probably one of the most people that know about my social media status. I would call her my manager in that sort of topic because she's helped guide me in what videos to post about the situation and what not to post about the situation.
Phibz's mom also got them to stop taking drugs and made sure they went to therapy.
Wasn't healing 6 months ago. I was doing a lot of bad actions. I was killing myself. I was doing drugs. I did a lot of bad, shitty things. But then my mom figured out what I was doing and she was all like, oh hell no, we're getting you into therapy, we're getting this fixed, we're not doing this.
Phibz's mom went a step further and pulled them out of school, enrolling them in a different program. It also came out that Phibz wasn't just dealing with bullying. They even had the police called on them by school staff.
So what was the situation? So you had to leave school because of kind of all these allegations going around?
So to explain the whole situation, The staff found out about the allegations, but instead of asking me, like asking for my side first, they decided to straight up call the cops for the screenshots. They didn't even ask me, they didn't even try to talk to me.
Your school called the cops on you.
Yeah. And so and then later, like a few minutes later after they called the cops, I figured out they called the cops. So it was all like, so I tested my mom because she was the one I trusted with all that, because she knows anything more about law enforcement than anyone I know. So I tested her and I was all like, hey, the cops are here. What do I do? She was all like, are you being detained? I was all like, no. Is anyone with you? No. Well, then run.
The situation got even weirder when the school staff started asking Phibs' friends about their sex lives and their Discord messages with Phibs.
So, next day, move over to next day. 2 different events happen. One kid started like shouting at me at the school, like, Phibs, she was 14. So I was all like, yeah, I'm not taking that. So I head over to the vice principal's office. But then my friend stopped me for a second. I was like, hey, what's up? He was all like, hey, the office just pulled me in, asking if I had any forceful stuff with you, or or if I had any Discord messages with you. Like, the staff literally pulled some of my classmates in to talk to them.
You like your friends?
Yes.
How old are your friends?
That friend was 17.
Okay. Dang. So, like, the staff was... So, did the staff ever try to get your side of the story, or did they kind of, like...
No, and to be frank, I don't think they wanted it. They're, like, very ignorant people.
With no one at the school trying to get on their side of the story, plus the harassment that she was starting to get from their peers, a change of environment was inevitable for Phibs. Currently, they are enrolled in a life skills program.
Are you in college?
I was in high school because I didn't get enough credits.
Okay, so, like, are you talking about, like, before, or are you still in high school?
I'm not in high school anymore. I was in high school, like, a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
But,
so you just recently graduated high school?
I'm not graduated. I'm transferring over to a different program. I'm going to place a program in a college where it's all like you learn life skills rather than general education.
And it may be for the best. Instead of staying online and continuing a self-destructive path, Phibs may be genuinely on a path to self-redemption.
I haven't since those 6 months. I've been recovered from that. I don't intend to anymore. Or my initials into someone else, mind you. And I'm sorry that I did that 6 months ago, and I will make a public apology on that, and I'll take accountability for it.
I want to remind everyone that I'm going to therapy and I talk about these things in therapy. So I just want to say that. And if I did anything in the past or made some past actions, that I do highly regret them. And I always try to talk about it in therapy, but I also try not to talk about it too much here, because that's nothing for you guys to deal with.
So, that's the full story. A TikToker who looked like internet comedy gold turned out to be something dark and responded in the worst possible way at every possible juncture, only for them to disappear from the spotlight, leaving behind a trail of unresolved questions and a heavily damaged reputation. Well, if you enjoyed that video, be sure to check out how TikTok's worst mother destroyed her career.